Harry's wife, what would make her reunite with her father? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As you know, Harry's wife has disengaged from her father. Her father is a non-intimate secondary source in her fuel matrix. This man at one point was probably a non-intimate partner primary source in the fuel matrix when she was a teenager. That meant that he was the easiest individual to control that also provided her with a mountain of fuel, character traits and residual benefits. Those residual benefits, of course, managing her facade, paying for things, paying for her tuition, getting her opportunities in the acting world, and so on and so forth, providing her with a place to live, giving her money. Over time, of course, his importance as non-intimate partner primary source fades as she becomes a woman and she recognizes the power of the laying on of the spicy poontang. Invariably, the narcissist, as the narcissist reaches majority and then enters adulthood, moves from a non-intimate partner primary source, usually a family member, usually a parent, and instead then secures those intimate partners. Why? Because sex is a massive weapon of seduction and allows us to get to the prime aims very successfully because of the way that empathic people bundle up intimacy, love, and sex in an entire package, more often than not. Accordingly, Thomas Markle Sr. stayed within the fuel matrix, but then not as a non-intimate partner primary source, but as a non-intimate secondary source. And she utilised the lashings of spicy poontang to lure in other people, notably, of course, Trevor Engelson, Corey the chef, and latterly old Ginger Bollocks. However, many narcissists, of course, keep those family members in on a shelf basis, taking them off the shelf, interacting with them to assert control, draw fuel, get those character traits, residual benefits, on an on and off basis. However, with Harry's wife, because, as I've explained in parts past him, effectively Thomas became too difficult to control, threatened her facade, etc., her narcissism just denoted disengage from him, cut him out. Don't allow him to call, don't allow him to text, don't allow him to social media message, don't respond to anything, cut him adrift. Is this a permanent state of affairs? No, it's not. When a narcissist disengages from you, it's a sense of permanence at that juncture, and invariably disengagement means that you're cut adrift for a period of time. We're not talking a few hours. It's probably weeks, maybe even months. Sometimes it even extends to years. And then you can be engaged with again. That's why I don't like the term discard, because when people talk about, it was the final discard from the narcissist, there's no such thing. You, when you come into our fuel matrix, belong to us until the moment we shuffle off this mortal coil. You are there to be used. We might put you on the shelf and not take you off the shelf for years. We might disengage from you, which is more than putting you on the shelf. It means that we cut you off, so you can't contact us. You can't ring us, you can't message us, you can't come and see us. But that doesn't mean that we're done with you. It simply means that at that juncture, we enforce control over you by putting you in a position of withdrawal and having nothing to do with you. But we can, at a future juncture, resurrect the relationship and engage with you once again. Of course, many of you be thinking, the absolute brass neck of a narcissist to do that. After having cast you to one side, along comes the narcissist acting like nothing has gone wrong, that the intervening period of a decade of silence is just to be brushed over. And that's what the narcissist does. Of course, the victim might say, why are you contacting me now? You've not spoken to me in 10 years. And the narcissist will invariably come out with some flannel to appease them. I've been growing. I've been working on myself. I had issues that I needed to deal with. You caused me to have a long look at myself, and I thought that it was better that we stayed apart. Or I've been focused on other matters, which have meant that I've been busy and I hadn't had opportunity to consider our relationship. You'll come up with some twaddle that the narcissist pours towards you. Might be a pity play, might be triangulation, maybe a word salad. But ultimately the narcissist, if pressed, will come up with some explanation as to why the narcissist didn't involve themselves with you. And invariably, it's done in such a way that caters to your empathic traits of compassion, decency, caring, and truth seeker. Namely, better that we sort things out. Better that we get back on an even term. Okay, they didn't speak to me for a decade, but I'm not going to allow the past to get in the way. And that's what enables us to come back. Invariably, the empathic nature of our victims is such that it allows us back in. Rather than you think, oh no, actually this is a narcissist that's treated me this way and hasn't spoken to me for 10 years. Fuck 'em. Invariably, you're overjoyed that negotiations, if you like, have resumed. Even some people who might realise they're dealing with a narcissist still turn around and get sucked back in because their emotional thinking rises and they forget what they've learned, in effect, on a short-term basis. But what about Harry's wife? At the moment, she deals with Doria. Dory gets to come round for the very exciting Christmas at Monty shit show involving Harry and his juggling balls, the two children, if they exist or not, and Harry's wife. Nobody else is required. Nobody else really wants to come. Of course, Thomas Markle would love to, but he has been ostracised and put to one side. But would she re-engage with him? The short answer is yes, she would. If her narcissism dictated that that was the appropriate thing to do, then it will happen. She's not ashamed. She's not embarrassed. She doesn't see that she's done anything wrong. The hiatus in the relationship was appropriate. And now her narcissism dictates that it's appropriate for them to be in touch. Whether it's suddenly she's had a moment on the road to Damascus, how she suddenly realised that she wants to forgive him for his transgressions and not let this remain a stain on the family relationship. Undoubtedly, with Harry's wife, it would be some kind of sanctimonious nonsense of that nature, that I wanted to reach out to you and give you a second chance, even though he's not actually done anything wrong. But she believes, of course, that she's Saint Harry's wife, of all matters empathic. What might trigger it? Might it be a sudden health crisis? Unlikely, but it might be for the purpose of managing the facade. Might it be that he's at death's door? Again, possibly for the purposes of management of facade. But the matter that's most likely to cause her to re-engage with her father is if she falls out with Doria. In essence, if Doria becomes painted black, that may well shunt Thomas to painted white status. So if Doria was to do something whereby her use was no longer any great use to Harry's wife, and she threatens Harry's wife's sense of control, she becomes painted black. This often means that other people in the fuel matrix who were once painted black thus become painted white. And so if Doria kicks up a stink, perhaps wants more money, perhaps isn't playing ball, perhaps threatens to disclose certain things about Harry's wife, she may well then be painted black. This may then well have the cause of Thomas Markle being painted white, and all of a sudden she reaches out to him. She hoovers him. The narcissism dictates that it's appropriate now to engage with him once again. Thomas, of course, having his own need to assert control over her, may well be receptive for her response to him, because it manages his own facade and that he wants to be seen as the good father. But the thing that's most likely to cause her to contact her father and resurrect the relationship isn't anything actually that Thomas Markle would do, isn't anything that's necessarily going on in his life, although it'll have some bearing. The most likelihood is that Mother becomes painted black, and thus in so doing, Thomas becomes painted white, and that precipitates the Hoover. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.